I've been critical of Dave Ramsey for a lot of things over the years, not least of which is his advocacy for a 100% stock allocation, even in your retirement years. He has steadfastly insisted that bonds are not, in fact, inversely correlated to stocks and can have similar amounts of volatility. Take a listen to what he had to say on a recent podcast episode.
If you take the bond market and plot it on a graph as it goes up and goes down, and you take the stock market and plot it on a graph as it goes up and it goes down, those mountains and those valleys, those peaks and those valleys on that graph indicate the volatility of that market over time. And if you took, say, 50 years or 75 years of the stock market, you could see how the stock market goes up and down over a period of years. And you could look at the bond market and see how it goes up and down over a period of years. Now, something that is safer would be less volatile. If it is so safe that we move an entire population as it ages out of stocks and into bonds, you would think it would be a lot less volatile. And the truth is, if you take those two graphs and you lay them over the top of each other, there's not a lot of difference. Bonds are less volatile than stocks, but not much. And they don't perform as well. The stock market has outperformed the bond market over an extended period of time. And the difference in the two, honestly, isn't spit as far as volatility.
In short, Ramsey is recommending that you invest 100% of your retirement savings in stocks, even well into retirement, when your tolerance for huge drawdowns in the market is at its lowest. And while I have been critical of this position in past episodes, a recent study may, to some extent, vindicate his stance. Conventional wisdom holds that rules of thumb like the 100 minus your age in stocks suggest that you should gradually decrease your stock holdings as you get older. In fact, popular target date funds follow a glide path that culminates in heavy bond allocations in retirement. Even Fidelity recommends a shift from 92% equities in your early accumulation years to a 33% equity allocation in retirement. Bonds are thought to be safer than stocks because of their lower volatility, but the authors of a study entitled Beyond the Status Quo, a critical assessment of life cycle investment advice, used a sample from 38 countries from 1890 to 2019 that created nearly 2,500 years of country month return data. They then ran 1 million simulations of a U.S. couple's life cycle. They then compared the impact of various asset allocation strategies on retirement wealth accumulation, retirement consumption, and the likelihood of running out of money before actuarial life expectancy. And contrary to mainstream views on bonds, the authors found that a constant allocation of 35% to domestic stocks and 65% to international stocks for one's entire life, including retirement, was the optimal allocation across all comparative measures. And although a 100% stock allocation had greater volatility, it produced a greater outcome for retirees. The study didn't so much conclude that stocks are safer in the long run than previous thought, but that bonds are much riskier than previously expected. And here's the key point. Over long horizons, bonds became more correlated with domestic stocks and had significant downside risk. According to the study, quote, current research suggests that bonds are much riskier than previously thought and may not fill the safe asset role in life cycle asset allocation, pushing retirees towards heavier stock allocations, close quote. Now, before you dismiss this study as a statistical aberration, know that it was based on some of the most comprehensive data sets available. And it unequivocally concludes that investors should hold internationally diversified 100% stock portfolios, not just during their accumulation years, but during their retirement years as well. In fact, even adding 5% or 10% in bonds resulted in underperformance on every single metric that was considered. So does all this vindicate the Dave Ramsey stance towards bonds and his widely criticized retirement planning worldview? Perhaps, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you should be shifting all of your retirement savings to a 100% stock portfolio. Consider this. The reason the study suggested that bonds weren't a useful part of your retirement portfolio is because they had far more volatility and far more correlation to stocks than previously thought. However, there are financial tools that perform like bonds and do so without the risk associated with traditional bond investing and without the same correlation to stock market investing. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about annuities. Consider what PhD economist out of Princeton, Wade Pfau, had to say about annuities. Quote, "The general account of the insurance company is better positioned than the household to manage the risks involved in earning higher fixed income returns by accepting duration, illiquidity, and credit risk. This allows for a longer-term investment focus with assets held to maturity that can offer higher yields than households could otherwise muster within their own fixed income portfolios," close quote. In other words, insurance companies can provide the investor greater returns than traditional bond investing with a guarantee that they'll never lose money in the market. Most financial gurus like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman seem to be unaware of the academic studies that have mathematically proven the benefit of integrating annuities into one's retirement plan. In fact, they have both adopted a decidedly anti-annuity stance in their books, websites, and podcasts. Nobel laureate Richard Thaler, in his famous New York Times article, expressed his dismay over retirees' failure to include annuities in their retirement portfolios. Peter Diamond, also a Nobel laureate and MIT professor of economics, co-authored a sweeping analysis of annuities that said, quote, "The near absence of voluntary annuitization is puzzling in the face of theoretical results that suggest large benefits to annuitization," close quote. So given the study that suggests you should omit bonds from your retirement allocation, and given the reams of academic studies that demonstrate the benefits of annuities, how should you modify your retirement approach? As retirement expert Tom Hegna is fond of saying, there's a single recommendation that will immediately improve the long-term outcomes of every single investor. Simply reach into your portfolio, remove the bonds, replace them with annuities, and you'll increase your return, lower your risk, lower the standard deviation of your entire portfolio, and experience a better outcome over time. So while time and academic studies seem to vindicate Dave Ramsey's anti-bond approach, it's decidedly at odds with his take on annuities. In the next 10 years, I'm looking to put 100,000 Americans on the road to the 0% tax bracket. If you would like some help implementing a balanced, comprehensive approach to tax-free retirement that shields you from the impact of higher taxes down the road, head on over to davidmcknight.com and click on the Connect with an Advisor button. I'm happy to refer you to an advisor in the Power Zero network that has been trained, vetted, and qualified personally by me. If you're a financial professional and want to learn how to become a certified Power Zero advisor, head over to powerzero.com and opt into my free video series. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them into the comments section below. I'll respond to every single one of them personally. And don't forget to click like, subscribe, and the bell so you never miss a video. This is David McKnight. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.